Alrighty, so moving on. Now we need to be able to determine squeaky, jazz, bagpipes, vertex, and calming. So far, we don't really know how to represent like Q. And so it's a little bit iffy right now. So I think let's go back to our paragraph and see if we can come up with any more correspondences. A lot of it looks like gibberish to me. But one thing I do see over here, letters. That sounds awfully like letters. So I'm just gonna replace this, letters. That also fits, like the duh goes, is replaced, or the t of letters is replaced with duh in our new alphabet. R, D, some vowel, B. I'm just going off of inference here, right? This looks like a jumble of what letters? I suppose something that starts with an R would be like random letters. So let's see if this actually fits. R-A-N-O-M. Okay, so every U corresponds with a vowel, so that's great. The D and the N, we also saw previously that the N could be turned into a D, and so that seems to fit. Amazing. This is a long word that's kind of difficult. Oh, we already saw Olbadud, right? That's just alphabet from previously over here in the blue. So we can just replace that real quick. Alphabet. For better or for worse, the something alphabet. The Drudsverbud. Okay, let's see if we can replace anything because none of this actually makes sense. So I assume the Z should be an S. Let's just for now assume that the T should be, or D should be a T. And once again, if you don't know where I'm getting this from, it's these conclusions we made previously about the sounds that you can make with your mouth and what each of these letters corresponds with. The R has always been an R. The D could be anything, could be N, it could be TH, it could be T. Since this is a vowel, it seems to or let's get back to that later. Yeah, so we see the V over here. We've noticed that most V's turn into F's. This vowel could be anything. This is R. This vowel could be anything. B could be a lot of things, and D. So trusford. That looks awfully like the word transformed. So if I fill these in, it seems to match pretty well, right? So we have the A with the U, the D with the N, which we already saw over here, works out, the O with the U, so the vowel with the U again, and the B with the M. Okay, interesting. So it seems like the word or the letter M can be replaced with a B. That's actually a discovery here because we have not encountered M just yet. Amazing. All right, moving on. For better or for worse, the transformed alphabet will Booger, Rudrug, Lug, something, 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 random letters. And the UV over here, we can probably assume, because V is F, so this would probably be O. A buzzluduga. That's a little bit hard. Let's look at this word, lug, right? There's L, which has, for the record, not really changed. We also have G, right? G, we know can be transformed into K. So let's say we do that. We have two vowels in the middle, so this is probably look. Great. So transform alphabet will Boogu Rudug. So I do not see how we could come up with that right now. And so maybe just to change the pace a little bit, we could probably also just go on to some other part of the sentence and come back later. So let's look at the second one. I noticed there's a question mark here, which is very interesting. So let's see if we can come up with a question that's us or the zuz de wood. So Z's, we don't really see, again, Z in the English alphabet. At the moment, if we have an S here, then it could be as, it could be is. So let's just say A/I, so as or is. And D is also not really by itself in the end very much, but T is, right? So D and T. And then at or it, right? So it could be as at, or as it, or is at, or is it. Huh. Okay, is it makes sense. So let's just assume it is it. Zaz de wood. Well, Z's can often be S. So let's say we tried making both of those S's. D and T are kind of interchangeable. So I'm just going to make a random guess that this is a T. V's have been usually transformed to F's, and this has been D. Okay, sustified. Is it satisfied? Nah, because that doesn't make sense because there's an S here, right? Sastified. Sustified. Okay, so sustified doesn't make sense, but the word justified does make sense here. And so if we change this Z into a J, then that looks like the word justified, does it not? Okay, so let's try filling this in. All the vowels do match, right? Every U has been paired with vowels in the English alphabet. And the only new thing we've noticed is it seems like Z can also be used to represent J. And that's pretty helpful for us over here, as I marked, because the word jazz actually requires the word J. So we just found the letter in our new alphabet for J, and that's great. We could honestly probably fill jazz in at this point, right? Because J, we saw over here, is just Z. And any vowel is just U. And Z, I mean, since Z never really changes, we can probably just assume that Z is just Z. So this is just Zuz for jazz. For squeaky, we're still missing the Q, so that might be a little bit of an issue. Let's see if we can try bagpipes though. So B, the B sound, well, this new alphabet has B anyway, so that doesn't really matter. All the A's get transformed into U's because all vowels get transformed into U's. The G sound, we also have G's like throughout the alphabet, so it doesn't seem like this needs to change either. So let's just do G, and then the P we know is transformed into a B, and you can pretty much see that somewhere, I'm sure. Did we mark it anywhere? Yes, spelled over here. B and P are changed, so we can do P as B, and then I over here is just the U again. P again is just B, and then E is U because, again, U replaces every vowel. And then the S we know in our new alphabet is replaced with a Z. So bagpipes in our new alphabet is bug-bubas. Funny, very interesting. Cool. See if there's anything else we can do at the moment. Let's try starting with vertex. We know the V and the F are always changed. So we can replace that. The E is just a U, and the R is just an R that does not change. The T, if you look up in our key, gets replaced with a D. And you can obviously see that in the examples as well. So let's change this to a D. The E is just a U, and X. Okay, so X is the issue. We have not seen X anywhere. So we don't know how exactly we can represent x. And so it might be a good idea to keep that blank. Oh, and I just realized I made a mistake, sorry. The f's get transformed into v's. So actually this v just stays a v. It does not change into an f because the f letter does not exist in this new alphabet. Okay, cool. I suppose now we can continue seeing if we can try finding anything that might be an X sound, or it might be a Q or a Q sound. So there's a question mark here. So it's a colon and then it's a question mark. I suppose what I notice is like the gua sound. The gua sound seems kind of like a kwa sound if you think about it, right? Like gua or kwa. And we need to find a kwa somewhere. And so let's make a leap of faith and assume that this is like the kwa sound. The Z's are usually S's. D's could be T's, they could be TH's, they could be N's. Qua. And if the D was a T, if this D was a T, this looks awfully like the word question. And so if we are right about that, then we've also found a correspondence for Q. So question. Q is just represented by the GW combination, except one thing I do notice, right? Que. The reason why we have a GW combination is because we want to make the que sound. But for squeaky, we just need the k sound. We don't really need the like que sound. And so perhaps we can write this as Z, and then this Q could be just written as a G. And then the rest of these vowels are just U's. So we have 3 U's here. The K sound, all the K sounds, or the C sounds, the K sounds are replaced with G. And the Y is, again, a vowel that we determined in our correspondence over here. So this should be the correct, hopefully, transcription of squeaky. Great. Now, the last one we have left is calming. Is it possible right now for us to actually come up with calming? Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so notice how we don't actually have the complete paragraph transcribed. This actually helps save time, right? Like sometimes you don't need to completely solve the problem. You just need to make sure you have enough information to answer your questions, and then you can move on. And so the k sound we see again can be represented with the G. So let's write that down. And then the A is just the U. The L has never changed in this new alphabet. It's always just been L. The M, we did figure out from the word transformed that the M can be written as a B. So M is B, I is just U, N is D. From this conclusion, because we saw in the words with and that they were always represented with D, and then G is just G. And what I do notice is this UDG kind of combination appears a lot, right? There's a UDG there, there's a UDG here, so we can probably just do ING, and this is ING. Or sorry, my bad. This is not ING because it should be UDG, not UGD. So got the 2 letters mixed up. But yeah, over here it can be replaced with ING. If we see any other examples of UDG anywhere, we can also replace it with ING. Great. And so our last part for B1 is we need to figure out this X sound. Where can we find this X sound? And so we're just going to have to continue transcribing. So again, if you haven't paused the video yet, I encourage you to pause it and try to figure out the rest of the sentences. Meanwhile, I'll just continue solving it. And since I've done this problem before, I do know where to find this X. If you didn't know, you would just have to go through brute force the problem until you can find it. But as you go through the problem, what you'll realize is you're going to start trying to come up with the rest of this sentence, and you're going to find the kind of x sound somewhere in here. So how we do this, let's say we're trying to trying to figure out this sentence. This U and V can be replaced with O and F because V is always replaced with F. And then if you kind of brute force this, what you'll realize is BL seems more like a PL kind of thing. The G is usually replaced with a C or a K. And then there's a Z, which is probably an S. And if we just have that and we see LUDs, if this U was replaced with an O, it'd sound like lots, right? So LODs, lots. So lots of something. And previously it says we something blah 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 blah. Question: is it justified? Blank, lots of K plus. And then D's can be a lot of things, but like if a question was to be asked, oh, is this new alphabet justified? Well, it's probably gonna receive lots of what? Complaints, right? It's gonna receive lots of complaints. And if you figure out the rest of this sentence, it actually makes sense because you'll find out that it's actually like this word over here, zuz, dub, you can replace the Z's with S's, and if you replace the U with Y, this is like the system. And old looks a lot like old, right? The old system. So people like the old system. So what should you do? You should see lots of complaints. What is another word for like see lots of complaints? People have lots of complaints. It should start with the some vowel and the gz sound. And then B's oftentimes get turned into P's, like B and P. D's get turned into T a lot. This G gets turned into C a lot. So it's Uggs bucked. That sounds a lot like expect. So if we actually figure this out, then we'll see that this is expect. And through the word expect, we will find out this X sound that we really need for our word vertex down here. And so that is perfect for us because that is the only thing we're missing. So we know that the X sound gets replaced with the GZ, and we can finally figure out B1. Amazing. And so now we just have B2 and B3 left. All right, so it says one major problem with does Ulbudud is ambiguity. For example, after Do Ulbudud was adopted, many people grew up assuming that the book Moby Dick was about a young bird. How was Moby Dick written in Dul Ulbudud? And what were people mistakenly interpreting this phrase as? So we know that M's correspond with B's. And so let's write that B right over here. O's always get turned to U's. B's are just B's, and every vowel is turned to a U. D's, if we look above, are just D's still. So there's D over there. I's always get turned into U. And then the C and the K sound, well, that is just the K sounds always get turned into G's, right? So this would just be GG. So this new title would be Boo Boo Doug. And what could that be interpreted as? Well, if it was, what is young and has the word buh something, buh, right? Like a baby. So we could say this was probably baby. Doug. What does Doug sound like, right? It sounds like duck. And CK also makes sense, right? Because like this alphabet CK works, and if this doesn't change, then this would just be baby duck. And that completes B2. All right, great. So we have 2 more left. For B3, it says TV shows began to use this new alphabet's ambiguity as a source of humor. In one show, the main character texted 2 friends a message that was intended to say, "Give me a minute." But one person handed her or gave her a fruit, and the other handed her a vegetable. And so it's asking what was the fruit and what was the vegetable, right? So to figure out what this was misinterpreted as, "give me a" has probably not changed. The only thing that changed is the word minute. So how do we actually write the word minute in in our new alphabet? Well, M, as we saw previously, just turns into a B. Any vowel gets turned to a U. If we look at N actually becomes D up there. And then this U is just U. T's always get D's because if you look over here, it's D and T. And then E's are just U's. So badoodoo. Fruits with this kind of badoodoo sound. And vegetables with this kind of badoodoo sound. Well, like, what kind of like 3-syllable word in English sounds like that? Well, if I were to think badoodoo, banana, that's pretty similar. And so if we call this banana and you look closely, right, everything matches. So the A and the U match, D's and N's, if we look at our previous key, also match, and so does everything else. And for vegetables, assuming you consider tomatoes as vegetables, like the 2 things that, everybody always says, like tomato, potato, right? Tomato, tomato, potato, potato, right? Badoodoo, right? It has the same emphasis. And there's no way this badoodoo could be the word tomato because B and T don't correspond, but potato, right? B and P could be, or those 2 do correspond between the 2 languages, so we can be sure that that is correct. And if we look at the rest of the word potato, you'll notice that like most of it is pretty similar, right? Like the O and the U, and all the D's get replaced with T's. So we're good with that. Our last task for B4 is, although the writing system was initially called Dul Ol Bubud, people quickly shifted to a new name, Zduvu Duzu Dolg, a name based on how the words sound when read aloud. And it's asking, what does this translate to? Okay, so this actually has something to do with how this word sounds, but at the same time, it's just in this weird alphabet. So let's again start trying to transcribe like we did previously. Dolg. So L, the G, the G sound, right? We have the G/K sound over here. So let's see if we replace this with like a K or a Sk, and then T. D's and T's sound very similar. So something TLK, right? TALK would make sense. And then now we have this. We have 2 V's, so this is probably 2 F's. And D's get turned into T's a lot. Z's get turned into S's a lot. And then we have 2 vowels, right? Probably stuffy. That is a word, and it makes sense because we have U and Y, 2 vowels. And so our last thing is here. Duzu. Well, we have the word stuffy and we have the word talk. What is usually stuffy? And we need a name based on how words sound when read aloud. Well, having something being stuffy when it's read aloud, like what can be stuffy? Can your mouth be stuffy? Can your vocal cords be stuffy? Not really. But your nose can certainly be stuffy. And so we could have obviously done this by scratch, slowly trying to figure it out, but also just by logic. What if this was just nose, right? We just need to check whether the correspondences match. And indeed they do, because the Z over here and the S are matching. If you look at our key, D and N also match. Whoops. The D and N over here also match. And the O is just a vowel replacement with the U, and so that also works. And great, so that means our new writing system's name is now called Stuffy Nose Talk. Amazing, and that ends our problem. So great job if you made it to the end. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And notice how, again, we didn't completely figure out this entire paragraph. If you want to do it for fun, go right ahead. The answers are on the NACLO website. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.